Hey everybody, it's Rajesh here.
Intane here.
Welcome to our podcast, Baskets of Knowledge, Chats with a Difference. In our podcast, we invite guests from around the country and around the world to talk about how they got to where they're at the moment. It's about a journey, it's about an experience, it's about their life. Kia ora koutou, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Baskets of Knowledge. It's just me tonight because Tanya is away doing some other cool things as always. As always, I like to share what I put into my basket of knowledge over the last few weeks. The big thing that I put into my basket was I attended a little conference today, and there was a big conversation about AI. And people were getting really excited about it. And somebody on the panel was like, yeah, we can get to live to over 100 years old. And it was really exciting. But there was a great question that somebody asked from the audience, and it was, just because we can do it, should we do it? Just because you can live to 100 years old, do you want to live to 100 years old? And I was like, this is very true. And if we think about all aspects of our life, just because it's available, do we have to do it? And that's the question that I've had in my back of my mind for today. And maybe for you to think about, just because something's available, do you have to do it? Do you want to do it? Or is it just cool to know and just let it go on? And that's what I've been pondering. But as always, it's not about my pondering or not about Tanya's pondering. It's about our guests. And as always, we scour the world to bring people on. But this time, the world scoured us and came to us. So we're very excited. And as always, we're really privileged. And before I jumped to the podcast, I obviously did a bit of research about our guest. And our guest is a pretty epic human. And I'm not going to do a big intro because I want that to be part of the story. But they're a person, as I went through their profile and read about them, they've done some amazing things in their life. Not just professionally, but also personally. And when we caught up just before, it's really inspiring to hear what they've gone through. And the energy is pretty epic. So I'm really excited and very privileged to invite on to Pass the Knowledge. Lata, welcome to Pass the Knowledge, Lata.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Fantastic. Lata, for people who know nothing about you, who are you today on the 26th of June, 2026?
So, Lata Hamilton, I live in Sydney, Australia, if you can hear the accent. Quite rainy today, so it's been not so sunny, usually quite sunny here. And I'm a change leadership and confidence expert. Specifically, I often focus in the area of helping women carve their own paths of change in career leadership and life. And I guess a few fast facts about me. I love cardio, so I love like running, swimming, yoga, skiing, except now I'm sort of hitting my perimenopause. So I've been trying to switch that up for strength training. And I've been enjoying it actually. To be fair, I have actually been enjoying it, but I am a little bit missing the cardio. And I am also love to travel, love going overseas. It's one of my favorite things to do, particularly Europe. Absolutely love that. And I'm also an avid thrift shopper. So even the top that I'm wearing is a recycled treasure. And yeah, it's just a few things about me. And obviously, when I travel, I love to eat. Food is one of my big passions. I love cooking it. I love watching people make it. I love learning new recipes, doing cooking classes when I travel. So yeah, that's kind of me in a bit of a nutshell.
Boom, love it. Travel, cardio, food. I mean, what else would one want in life, right? How good is that? And thrift shopping. Boom, happy days. How good is that? Happy days. But let that question for you. If someone said to you when you were, say, 10 or 15 years ago that, hey, in 2026, this is what your life would be like, what would you have said to them at that point in time?
I think 10, 15 years ago, I was really at the start of my corporate career. And excuse me, I do have a bit of a cough, so it might come through a few times on the recording. Um, yeah, I think, I was probably like finishing up uni, going into my corporate career. And I think back then I had a really different view of like what makes a successful life and what that path looks like. So I come from a really traditional family. My dad was like male breadwinner, my mum was a stay-at-home mum. And I kind of just looked at my dad's sort of career and his career path. And when I finished university, so I did media and communications at university, and then I went into advertising, and then I was like, oh, there's not enough money to be made in advertising. And so I kind of looked at my dad's career and I was like, okay, this is the path. This is the way that you go. This is how you become successful. And it was, a corporate career, a job for life. You stay at one company for like 20, 25 years, and then you climb the corporate ladder and you eventually become successful. And So back then, that was what I thought was going to be the trajectory of my life. I got a marketing and sales graduate program in an fast moving consumer goods company, just like my dad worked in. And that company I absolutely loved. And I thought that was going to be like my job for life. So my trajectory in my head, I was like, I remember actually one of the interview questions that I had, it was like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I couldn't answer that question, but I could answer the question, like I said, I can't answer 5 years, but I can say in 20 years, I want to be senior leadership. I want to, be leading a lot of people, like leading a department, leading 200 people, and like obviously with the salary that matches that, and like really, really excited. So to think now, like just 10, 15 years later, that I'm completely the opposite. I have no team. I have one virtual assistant part time. I run my own business. I have my own change management training course online, and then also work with my own change management consulting clients. I work really flexibly most of the time. So sometimes with clients, I do work particular days, but when I'm working on my own or with my own statement of work, I kind of like start work at 10, finish work at 4, hang out on LinkedIn for a bit, take a day off a week to go to the beach or go out for lunch or do something for myself, um, and just work really fluidly and flexibly and travel a lot. So completely like worlds apart from what I thought my career path was going to be. And I think what I what I always say is like I'm not a 50-year-old white man, which is what my dad is. It's like I'm not a 50-year-old white man, I'm not a baby boomer, and I think the rules of the workplace and the rules of career have really changed. And generationally, I think that as a millennial, as a Gen Y, I'm looking for something different. I'm glad that I found that out really early and really quickly in my career, because I would hate to have thought that 10, 15 years later, I was actually still stuck in what I thought success was going to look like.
What a great share. And I love that because, a lot of people listening to this podcast have this vision in their life that, if I do a corporate job, if I follow the pathway there, because that's what we're sold. You go to school, you go to any education provider, you go to university, they're going to go, hey, you're doing this to get a job. Everything, you go to high school to get a good degree, you get a good degree to get a job, and then you climb a ladder. And what you just said is your whole life was disrupted. But I'd love to know where that disruption happened because obviously you had this great career, like you said, or this great job at the start. When did the disruption happen that you actually, wait a minute, this is not my jam?
Within a year of starting my corporate career.
Wow.
So like the wool was pulled up from over my eyes very quickly. Or maybe it's the opposite actually. I took the rose-colored glasses off very quickly. And I'm so grateful for that. So essentially what happened was I was in this organization, this company that I loved. Like I loved the brands, I loved the culture, I loved the people, I loved everything about it. And obviously it was my start, it was my graduate program. But I kind of found myself really stuck and really held back. I had a really challenging leader in my second rotation, and I was living over in Perth at that time, so I'd been relocated to Perth for that second rotation. Had a really challenging sort of like development conversations and things like that, and it really took the steam out of my sails, or the air out of my sails, and like really made me question my confidence and really made me question like, was I the right person? Was I actually worth it? And I tried so hard to change to fit what I thought they needed me to be, and to try and almost like pull myself back, and not be as generous and as giving, as ambitious, as sociable, as like all of these like things that I brought to the table, and which was why I actually got hired for the role in the first place. It was almost like in my within my first year almost working there, it was like, oh no, all of those things are not right. And if I reflect now, it would be like, that particular leader was probably Gen X, probably felt like I was like coming hot on his heels, and a really different, like all our managers were all Gen X. They were all in a completely different life stage to us grads. A lot of those grads left that program actually because we weren't getting fed or fueled what we needed to actually feel like we were making a difference, feel like we were making an impact. Like one example is we were put on this in our second year in the graduate program. We're put on this like leadership course that usually you'd have to be in the company for like about 5 years before you would do that
Yeah.
leadership course. And we all, like all 20 grads, went through it. But then when we came off the graduate program, I literally went back into the same role that I did when I first went onto the graduate program. So 2 years had gone by and I felt like I was just stuck, stayed in the
Wow.
same position. And that was really challenging because I had, this feedback where I was like, okay, I'm going to try and adapt to myself. So I wasn't feeling like myself.
Yeah.
And then it was like, I haven't progressed in my career like I thought that's what you do, right? You progress, climb the corporate hierarchy, climb the corporate ladder. So I felt really like stuck, underpaid, undervalued, overlooked. I tried to ask for pay rises. I tried to go for roles that were a step up or roles that were in a different area to kind of give myself that variety and that growth and that challenge, and the salary as well that I wanted to get. Excuse me. And yeah, and it was just like it was such a feeling of stuckness. And at that time, I had just discovered neurolinguistic programming and coaching, so I was starting to do courses to learn how to be a neurolinguistic programming practitioner. And if you don't know what NLP is, that's the easiest way to say it. NLP, it's the study of excellence in behavior, communications, and psychology or your emotions, and then kind of coaching. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll just start a life coaching side hustle kind of thing. I actually wasn't learning NLP and coaching specifically to do my own business. The plan had actually been to just be more effective in the workplace.
Mhm.
But I was learning that at the same time. And it was really my coach who was like, oh, maybe this place isn't right for you. Have you thought of getting another job? And I was like, no. Because, like, in my head, I was like, oh, I've got to be loyal. Like, I've
Mhm.
got to show loyalty to this place because they've invested in me, like they've given me my start in my corporate career, opportunities, trainings, that I would never have gotten, anywhere else. So I was like, I've got to be loyal. But actually, it wasn't the right fit. It wasn't the right path for me. And I wasn't feeling valued. I wasn't feeling like myself there. And so I ended up leaving, and within one move, so I stayed in marketing, but I moved to financial services, and I ended up getting a $20,000 pay rise just in
Wow.
like one move. And that really broke, I think, that kind of that barrier, that broke that concept around like, oh, I've got to do my time. I've got to wait my turn. I've got to do the slow burn, the slow climb. It's going to take me the 20 years to get to senior leadership, to get to a $200,000 salary. I actually tripled my salary and made it to $200,000 within the space of 3 years. And that has set my life up and my trajectory up in a completely different way. But it really
Yeah.
started from that first, um, breaking that, I guess, habit that I had of, oh, I've got to be loyal.
Yeah. And isn't it funny? Isn't it strange that I'm also an NLP practitioner, and what I found when I was doing my training was that I had to think about my own languaging, my own beliefs. I was training to be a coach for other people, but
Yeah.
I had to break myself first. I had to go, actually, wait a minute. What is the language I've been saying, thinking? And it seems the similar thing happened to you when an action or a behavior just changes the way you think about it. Because it's very true. Again, it goes back to what we said before. You're all programmed to go, hey, it's important to be loyal. I have the same thing.
Mm,
I can't change my job because they provided me with X, Y, Z. But
mm,
I very quickly learned that, hey, I can be replaced in an instant. The minute I walk out the door, the company doesn't care. The company doesn't care. Um, so I love the fact that this happened for you pretty early in your career. And as you said, you then shifted from underpaid to in 5 years of, before the age of 35, as you say, you've tripled your salary, you've got where you wanted to go. But I'd love to know, so you're doing the corporate stuff, you're doing all that there. When did you decide actually, nah, I actually want to do my own thing? And I asked the question because I know a lot of our listeners out there are on the cusp, on the crossroads of I want to do something, but the safety and the comfort of my weekly income or whatever is going to keep me here. And maybe one day, maybe when I'm about to retire, I will then try my passion. What made you go actually stuck that I'm just going to do it right now?
yes. So when I was doing my NLP and coaching, I didn't even want to have a side hustle. Like it was not actually part of the original plan. Like I mentioned, I was actually learning those skills in order to be more effective in the workplace. And I remember a guy who was doing the coaching course with me. he was like, I don't want to work for anybody else. I just want to be my own boss. And I was like, that is so not me. Like it was the opposite of me. I actually couldn't resonate with him at all. Um, and then because I was doing the coaching and I had obviously invested my own money into this like coaching program, into learning how to be a coach, I thought, okay, well, I might as well just have a side hustle, like make a bit of extra money. Like I've always been really money minded. I'm a great saver. I've always had like a lot of like goals. One of my goals was that I wanted to financially retire by 40. And I think it's that word financially, because what I wanted was I wanted to financially retire by 40 and then work because I want to, not because I have to.
Yeah.
I actually love to work.
Yeah.
And I was also like, it would be great to just be able to choose, to not have to go. Because again, I saw my dad, like he worked for a global company. He would be on calls at 2 a.m. in the morning. Do you know what I mean? Like he would be traveling, he would be, and like we didn't have a lot of presents. And I didn't want to wait until I was 60 to be able to in inverted commas like enjoy life. And so I did the training and I started the side hustle. And I started out just as a general life coach, and then I kind of naturally started to attract more women, young women specifically, who were really great at their career and they wanted that career side, and then also they were maybe looking for romance as well. They wanted to have their romantic relationship supported or created because some of them were single, which was exactly my story as well. Like I was single up until I was 27. And it was actually that inner work. It was doing an NLP breakthrough session with a coach that actually kind of, I can't even describe it. I remember walking out of the session and just feeling like my heart had opened up. And a guy who I was seeing really casually, I was like, oh, I think I actually really like him. Like it was almost like I needed to clear stuff out in order to be able to be open to like love. And we've been together now for almost 11 years. So in like next month, it'll be 11 years. And I'd been single until the age of 27. Like I'd never had a boyfriend until the age of 27. And so I was kind of attracting these women who are really similar to me, like young professional women, wanting like ambitious in their career, wanting to earn more and get promotions and things like that, as well as wanting to have that romantic side too. So I really kind of started to specialize in sort of the career part. But what I just found was that I was um, working a lot of weekends, working a lot of weeknights, and like the money wasn't compensating me enough for that. So
Hmm.
by that time, I had made the move from marketing across into organizational change management. And organizational change management, like a lot of people will have never heard of it. It's like the world's best kept secret. Yeah, like when I went to university, I never even knew it existed. But it's essentially if something's changing in an organization, like they're putting in a new system, or maybe like they've acquired a new company and like a new team is going to be joining this company, or maybe it's the move to remote work, the move back to the office, or a technology project, or a new operating model, anything that's changing in an organization. A change manager will go in and they will help get the people ready for that change through communications, training, and business readiness. And it's all based on the business benefits, which, as you would know from NLP is also all about making a change in meaning, but also like you only know in NLP that you've been successful based on the result that you get.
Yeah.
So you have to actually test with the client. Has that worked? Has that not? And it's the same sort of with change management. It's like we're doing all of this great stuff, supporting people, getting them engaged, getting them on the journey. But we're doing it so we can get the return on investment of the project. Like it's the
And
balance of results and people. It's not one or the other. So I had made the move now career wise into organizational change management, and it's a highly paid female dominated career. And there's not many careers that you can say are highly
yeah.
paid and female dominated. And so I had tripled my salary. I was now earning, $200,000 salary equivalent in like record time. And so I was like looking at my coaching course, oh, not course even, just my coaching programs. And I was like, I'm really not like, I was making maybe $13,000, $14,000 a year versus like what I was
Yeah.
making in my career, right? And so I was like, this isn't worth it to me. And so it was COVID, and I was pretty much just going to give my whole business up. It had been going for 5 years. I always had clients, and they kind of filtered and trickled in. But I couldn't do more than that because I worked full time. And then
100%. Yeah.
actually, at that time, I was working 4 days a week and I was still exhausted. I'd started posting some videos on YouTube and stuff like that. And so I was just going to give my business up. And then it's so funny. I think when you make that decision to like, when you make a decision, it's like something happens to force your hand either way. And I stumbled across this online course creator who was teaching how to make online courses. And I saw the missing element of what I'd been doing because I had tried to build online courses before. And like this approach was, like you actually build it with your audience, you build it with your students. And I loved it. Like I loved that concept. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to throw the towel in anyway, let's try this one last ditch attempt. And so I tried one um, topic and it didn't work. It was a complete and epic fail. I think I had like one student on that. And then I tried another topic, which is something that people had always asked me about because the thing that I do is that I bring neurolinguistic programming and coaching techniques into my change management work because I had learnt those skills before I had actually moved into change management. So naturally, because I was working one-on-one with clients and I knew how effective those tools were, I was like, I just naturally started to use them with my stakeholders, naturally started to use them with my projects. And so I had like change managers who were way more experienced than me, and they'd be like, how do you do what you do? Like, how are you so effective? How do you pick up on things so quickly? And I'm like, doesn't everybody like do it this way? And obviously the answer was no. And so
No,
people were
yeah.
really like curious about that intersection, the merging of NLP and coaching into change, as well as just change delivery, because most of the certifications and accreditations, they teach you a methodology, like the
Yeah.
theory. They don't teach you what to actually go and do in a project, like on day one of a
Yeah.
project. So I sort of built a course. I was like, okay, well, let's just try again. Like, I'm going to throw in the towel anyway. Let's see if there's a interest in this. So I built out my a pilot for a change management course, and it was so successful. People absolutely loved it. I had a great first cohort. I had about 10 people in the first cohort, and I co-created this program with them, a 6-week program with them. And that was the moment that gave me the confidence. I'd already been thinking about maybe moving into my own consultancy. And the reason why I had been planning to move into my own consultancy was because I was about to reach the market cap of what I could earn as a day rate contractor in change management. So I was like, I think at that time I was only like in my early 30s. I was like, what do I do after that? If I reach the market cap in my early 30s, I'm like,
What I
what
do?
does the
Yeah.
next 30 years look like to get to
Yeah.
60? So I'd already thought, like, I want more growth, I want more variety. Like, I was a really good change manager. People loved working with me. But then I felt sort of bad because I was like, well, I can only work on one project at a time because I'd work on massive transformations that would like impact 100,000 people, or like operating model changes where like 10,000 roles were being impacted. So big, big projects where I was working full time on them. I could only work with one client at a time, but if I was a consulting, I could work with more clients at a time.
Yeah.
And so, and then I had sort of unlimited income potential. But it was really that course, like the pilot of that course, that gave me the confidence to go, okay, let's try my business full time. I'd been doing it as a side hustle, I'd been doing it sort of part time, like for 5 years. I'm like, I finished my last contract in July 2021. And I took about 6 to 12 weeks off. I filmed and built my online course, and officially launched it. It was no longer a pilot; it was an official kind of course. And then in October 2021, I built my own. I kicked off and launched my own consultancy. And I tell you, like those first 6 months were tough because exactly what you said. Like I'm very risk averse, and I do love money, and I love steady income, and I love steady savings. And the inconsistency of income in consulting is the biggest challenge for somebody like me. There's some other people out there who wouldn't be phased by, the peaks and troughs of income coming in. Over the course of the entire year, like within my first calendar year in business, I had actually earned six figures. But yeah, like the first 6 months, I turned away a lot of work. I got really clear on who I wanted to work with. I turned away heaps of work. And I felt that financially. And I was like, oh my God, maybe I made a huge mistake. Like the first 6 months, I'm like, maybe I've made a big mistake. And it was a bit of an experiment. But then I landed my first like major consulting client, and I landed one smaller consulting client. They found me on LinkedIn. And then I landed my first sort of major consulting client, and I did a big statement of work with them. And from then on, it was fantastic. But still, like, again, like the income's great. It's just peaks and troughs. You don't get that steady, weekly or monthly or fortnightly injection of a salary. And I still struggle with that even today.
Yeah, and I guess, and thank you for sharing that there. And I love it because there were a couple of words that I'm going to pick up there. Obviously, the injection of salary is something that we've just been programmed into believing. But more and more, if we live in a world where you think about, okay, cool, as long as I'm getting some income, that's all good. But obviously, in the systemic world we live in with banking and mortgaging and all that kind of stuff, which takes up money monthly, weekly, whatever, which is why you get stressed out. But there's two words that I really want to pick out there. Like that is, you mentioned this twice, the word confidence. You mentioned at the first a few moments ago that when you had your first manager who just sucked away the confidence for you, then also now the confidence that you had, like, oh, should I do this or not? How have you transitioned, or maybe it's a huge assumption here, from someone that had low confidence to actually now going, all right, cool, in the world, I'm confidently out there doing what I'm doing. Because it's a massive shift to go from, as what your manager had you feeling to where you are now going, I'm owning this. This is my jam.
Yeah, I think it actually goes back even earlier than that. So I think a lot of people look at me and they think that I've always been this way, but I was actually a really shy kid. So I always had friends, but it was always like a handful of friends. And I liked talking with people one on one. I didn't like being in groups. And I was like really shy. I was kind of like loud at home, but like, because I was comfortable, that was like a safe space. But in social settings, like school, like I would like put my hand up to answer a question, but I wouldn't like talk really like openly or anything like that. And that was me sort of like through primary school, through high school. And then as I was leaving high school, I was like, I want to have a different experience of my life. Like, I want to have more friends and I want to have more of a social life and I want to go out more and party more and have new experiences and things like that. And so I like at the transition from high school to university, I literally made a decision. I just told myself, I just was like you just have to do it. You just have to. So I went when I started university, I went and signed up to like about 5 clubs and societies, and I forced myself to go to events. Forced myself. Even if I knew nobody there, like it was so hard, but I forced myself and I forced myself to talk to people in lectures and I forced myself to talk to people in tutorials, and like it was really tough. Like it was so much willpower. Like it yeah, I can even remember it now. Like, and even today, like before I'm about to go to a networking event or a conference, like you mentioned, you've just been at a conference, like there's still a little bit of me that's like, oh, I've got to like gear myself up to like go into that space
Yeah.
because it's not a natural state for me. But the interesting thing was that like the more that I did it, the more it started to become more natural for me to show up that way and to be, friendly and sociable and open and inviting and open to people coming to me and me going to them and just starting a conversation. And when I finished my 4 year degree, we were really tight knit degree. So only about 100 people do the media and communications course at Sydney University each year. So we're really close. And so my friend and I, we ended up putting on a like a MECO formal, like a media and communications formal. I mean, me and she organized it with some other people, and I helped a bit as well. And it was so crazy because at the end of the formal, I ended up winning like the MECO Queen award.
Oh
So
wow.
kind of like a prom queen, prom king, prom queen. There was like a MECO King, MECO Queen. And I think that was really the mark for me that just went, wow, I have transformed in these 4 years. I really have transformed because everybody knew me, everybody liked me. I had made some really great friendships, and I kind of took that into my corporate career. And I sort of believed in my own abilities and my own strength, and I took the confidence that I had built into my corporate career. But then I think there comes another thing where it's like when you're going to go against the grain, when you're going to do something that maybe your parents don't approve of. Like, it's not that my parents ever said, oh, don't go and be a day rate contractor, but they could not understand how I could leave a full time position or not go for a full time employed position for day rate contracting, which they saw as being kind of risky
Yeah.
because it's like, oh, you're just being paid by the day. I'm like, hang on a second, I'm being paid sometimes some cases double
Yeah.
what I would have been paid if I was a full-time permanent employee to do the same work. I'm like, so
It's a
like,
no-brainer. Yeah.
yeah, it's like if I'm looking at return on investment, I'm like, it's a no-brainer. But they couldn't understand it. And the same sort of with like, I've made the choice to be child-free. And that, especially in my early career, like it really people were very confronted by it. Um, and really kind of like surprised and would always kind of question me and be like, oh, you'll change your mind, don't worry. Like, I'm like, I'm not worried and I won't change my mind. And I'm 38 now and I haven't. um, and so it's like when you're going against the grain, I think you have to find that confidence inside. I think you have to, like, it isn't just sheer willpower. I absolutely learnt tools in neurolinguistic programming and coaching. And I think when you have that personal development, you become more, you clear out things that might hold you back, beliefs, patterns, blocks that might hold you back, and you become more open. But it takes less willpower if you build that muscle over
Yeah.
time and you start to believe sort of in yourself. And then, and it isn't just me, I also will often have somebody around me who I trust, who can't, it's not that they give me permission, but they open up the possibility. So in terms of like me leaving that first corporate role, it was my coach at the time who said, "Oh, maybe you need to get a new role," kind of thing. It was still my choice whether or not I wanted to stay there or not. But it was like I hadn't even thought of that as a possibility. I haven't even thought of leaving my company as a possibility. It didn't even enter my brain because I was like, "No, you have to stay. You have to stay for at
Mhm.
least 5, 10, 15, 20 years." And then when my pilot program of my change management course had been successful, and I was like, oh, like, do I go for it? And my partner was like, look, you've always wanted to try your business full time. Like, if it doesn't work or you don't like it, you can always go back to contracting. So why don't you just do it? And it's again, like, it's not like he gave me permission, but he gave me that little bit of that comfort level to go, okay, I'm not in it alone. I can try it. And I know that there are people around me who care about me, who will help me if it all burns and fails.
Yeah. And you know what's so beautiful there about, confidence as well, as you mentioned, is we speak about confidence all the time. But if you don't take the action, like, you can do all the tools in the whole wide world, but if you don't take that action to be intentional, like you said, to go and meet people,
Mm,
it's going to take a long time to build. But as you said, the more you do it, it's like a muscle, right? The more you do something, like your cardio, the more you run, the running doesn't become easier. It just becomes less challenging. So it's still going to be hard, but it becomes less challenging for you to do it. And the same thing with the confidence thing. But also love what you say, because people see us out there, and I'm saying myself as well, as confident and being out there. But before we go into networking, beyond a conference, you have to do an internal, okay, cool, I'm doing this because I have to do it, I want to do it, and whatever we do, which is really, really beautiful. And I say that because in the coaching world, or actually in any personal development world, it is heavily, I'm saying this from experience, it is heavily weighted towards women. A lot of women come into programs. I run a program at the moment, and 99% are women. And the same thing keeps coming as confidence and low self-worth and all those, insert whatever word into there. But what I would love to ask you about, because as someone who's gone through that, and someone who's speaking a message to the world, to anyone that is a female out there, what is something you'd like to say to any of our women listeners or female listeners, that, hey, this is Is it okay? Is it normal? And or is it a story that they're telling themselves, or a story that society has told them, which we're believing?
I think probably two things. The first thing is you have to do the inner work. Like, I did it through sheer willpower when I made that transition from high school to university, and that was really hard. Whereas, like, going and doing some personal development or working with a coach or like finding some sort of modality or methodology that works for you and helps you unpack and unlock anything that might be like limiting beliefs, limiting emotions, negative emotions, patterns, blocks, whatever that is, finding ways to clear that out. And then you can fill in the vacuum that's left, like the energetic vacuum that's left. You can fill that in with the good stuff, with the
Yeah.
confidence that you want. And it's like, it's really hard to try and build like something like confidence on top of like a psyche and an energetic body that's already full to the brim. You have to create that energetic space, that energetic vacuum first. And it makes it a lot easier. And then obviously you can find different tools and things like that to help you do that. My book actually has like a really good set of bonuses that comes with it. And some of those are like, meditations. Some of those are checklists and things like that. Like one of the things that some of the people who read my book love is that they just love being able to go, oh, okay, yeah, cool, here's my transferable skills, or here is, and just seeing it on paper, like actually seeing it on paper really helps them because sometimes it's all swirling around in your head. So even for some people, it can just be as simple as journaling, getting it out of your head and onto paper. So I think that's one side of it is kind of more the ethereal, kind of more intuitive side. The other thing that I would say to all women who are menstruating is that like I'm finding it more and more as I get older because I have endometriosis. So I got diagnosed with endometriosis in 2022. And now I feel my cycle a lot more. I absolutely feel the hormonal shifts through the month, whether I'm on my period or whether I'm PMSing or whatever it is. I feel that so much more in my body. And the really, like, when you start to look at like cycle syncing and understanding those hormonal patterns and understanding those hormonal shifts, like for a lot of women, there is a period of time, usually like after they've ovulated and after their fertile period, before they get their period, where they are really like almost like in a depressed state, like more negative, feeling worse about themselves. Maybe their body's a little bit more bloated. And it's like, don't make decisions during that time. I have this conversation with my sister at the moment. She's like, oh, I've really got to be really mindful of when that time is for me in the month. And I've got to make sure I don't make any big decisions at that time. Because literally um, your psychology is being wired differently because of the chemicals that are surging through your body. And that's normal, right? Like the peaks and troughs of your hormonal cycle through the month is normal. And then you might layer on, other things like I think it's called PMOS now, not PCOS, or endometriosis, or other things, other conditions might layer on. But the actual peak and trough of those different hormones is normal. So I think as well for a lot of women, they can have 2 weeks, like for me, I can have 2 weeks of the month where I feel on top of the world. I'm like out there, I'm doing all the things, I'm meeting all the people, I'm running, I'm strength training, I'm swimming. I feel good. I feel smaller. Like my partner will actually be like, "Have you shrunk?" Like in height, but it's actually just because I'm not bloated. So I
Yeah.
look completely, my whole thing looks small, like my whole frame looks smaller. So I feel really good. And of course, that's when you go and ask for the pay rise. That's when you go and go to a networking event, go to a conference, do all the things that you want to do. If you then find that the second half of your cycle, you feel like you have low energy, you're fatigued, you're depressed, maybe your sleep is impacted, maybe you're feeling more bloated, maybe you feel really negative, maybe you've got a bit more anxiety that's coming up. It's like, don't make decisions in that time and know that it's going to pass. So I tell myself, because I get a lot of pain with my endometriosis, I tell myself, I'm like, I know this is going to pass. I know that this is temporary. And in like a week or 2 weeks' time, I'm going to feel good again. So I think just having the awareness, like there's a lot more research out there now. There's a lot more tools and people who, focus on this. I'm not an expert in this field at all, but people who focus on cycle syncing, because it's something that men don't have to worry about. Men have a daily hormonal, but it's pretty much flat. Women, we naturally have those peaks and troughs through our month. So sometimes it's like, is it actually that you have low confidence, or is it just that you're about to get your period in 4 days? Like, and if you know you're about to get your period in 4 days, it's like, give yourself that compassion, take a breather, take a break, maybe sleep in, give yourself some rest, take yourself out for a nice meal or cuddle up with something or someone that you love, or do something that's going to nourish you and help you feel good. And then try again when you're in your follicular phase and your hormone, like your estrogen is peaking and you feel on top of the world.
What a powerful piece of advice there. And I say powerful because obviously this is not a world that I live in, but it's powerful because a lot of people might not be aware of this. A lot of women might not be aware of it, and if they are, this is also validating what they're feeling and how they feel, and which is really great to hear. And I love that share because there were two sides to that, obviously, which is really beautiful. That hey, yeah, you do the inner work and all that, but if the chemistry in your body is doing something. No, all the inner work in the world is not going to help that because you cannot fight chemistry. Like that's your body's doing its thing, which is really powerful to hear. And also for males as well to know about the counterparts, whether it's their partner or whether it's the team members. Um, so in a team that I lead, it was really funny when I got my team. The first conversation, my team is all females. And the first thing I said to them, you need to tell me when your periods are. That was, and they're like, what? No one has ever said that. I was like, because I need to know when you're feeling whatever you're feeling, because then I will change the way I speak to you. Also, I'll know what to expect and how to change the way I work. It was really interesting, and I learned this from another one of my friends who said to me, "This is when if you don't have the conversation, you can't help anybody." So it's been a really interesting for me managing my team. It's been really it's really funny because no one else in the team manages like this, and they're like, "Pradesh, what you can't say that." It's like I just said it, and we've had the conversation, and nobody came back to me, and they've all like it's been really interesting now watching the
Wait,
workflow.
nobody told you when
Oh,
there's
sorry.
cycle is?
Everyone on my team tells me. They just tell me.
Okay.
They tell me. But the external teams, like the other teams that work in the same space, they're like, "What are you doing? This is crazy." I was like, "No, it's not crazy because look at what I can see this happening, and now I understand." So I love the way you said that there. But on that there, so you are. Let's put it this way: you start doing a pretty cool thing there. You're consulting. Looking at the income, your confidence going. Then you decide, okay, cool, let me write a book. Yeah, because why not? I'm not doing anything else in my life. Let me write a book. What is the inspiration to write the book?
I think another thing that probably happened that was in the lead up to writing the book. So, my partner has a liver condition, and he was diagnosed with it about maybe like a year or 2 years after we started, maybe within the first year, I think, of us starting dating. And it was really interesting because at the same time as when I had started my business, happened to be the time when his liver condition, so it's an autoimmune disease, when it kind of hit its peak. So, like, I started my business in July 2021 full time, and then I started my consultancy in October 2021. And then I had my first major sort of corporate client, consulting client from sort of like March, May 2022. Um, and it happened to be exactly the same time that my partner ended up having a liver transplant. And it was really hard. He was in hospital for like 10 weeks. His heart actually stopped for about 20 seconds. He had the surgery and then he like bled out. So there was like a lot of post surgery complications. And he kind of almost went to nothing. So like he had to learn how to, so when he woke up, because he had been like sedated and unconscious and things like that. And when he woke up, like because he had been out for how many days, he like couldn't do anything except like blink. He couldn't talk, he couldn't lift his head, he couldn't lift his hand, he couldn't walk, he couldn't eat, he couldn't even swallow water. So he literally had to start from like zero and like learn how to do all of those things again. And it was really hard because he was in hospital for 10 weeks and then he was in and out of hospital for the next 6 months. And so I was I was obviously caring for him through that time, and it was really tough, but it was great because I was working with my own clients. I had a couple of clients at that time. And because I was doing like more statement of work pieces, it meant that I could be really flexible and I could just do the work for them at times that suited me. And I was able to be there like 100% for my partner when he needed me. So it was really, really fantastic. And, I still made six figures in that first calendar year of my business. But what happened was it was really traumatizing. Like it was really traumatic. It really, um, I hadn't had anybody in my life, like anybody in my family or in my younger years or anything like that, really be really sick. I hadn't spent a lot of time around hospitals. It was all very new to me. And like, luckily, it was almost like naivety was my
A good
friend.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good because I didn't know what to expect and I just kind of was taking each day as it comes. But at the end of it, I was burnt out. I was really, really exhausted. My endometriosis had flared, and I hadn't actually been diagnosed. It was suspected, but I hadn't actually been diagnosed yet until I had my laparoscopic surgery in October 2022. And I remember like taking myself off. We had planned to go to Byron Bay, the area around Byron Bay, for 2 weeks. And obviously we had the booking, and my partner couldn't come anymore because he was in and out of hospital all the time. But I was like, I need that holiday. I need that trip. So I went on my own, and went to the like the beachside cabin on my own. And yeah, like I was kind of still trying to come to terms with things, and I think I even got like a bit of like coaching and stuff like that at the time as well, like counseling to help with just sort of that. It was actually interesting. The counseling part was so we knew that he was going to go on the list in like, I don't know, April or May or whatever, for a liver transplant. And at that time, I said to my GP, I'm like, oh, can I get a referral to a psychologist? Because I want to have already met the person and know the person before my partner goes and has a transplant.
Yeah.
So that when that happens, if I need support and help, etc., I already have built a relationship with
Yeah.
this. Like,
Listen.
like you,
Yeah.
I believe in, therapy and support. So I was really proactive around my mental health. But then he ended up getting his transplant within 2 weeks of being on the
Oh,
list.
wow.
And it
Wow.
was so fast, like almost like neither of us had a chance to even come to terms and sort of breathe. And so I had just been like living day by day, powering through, going like, what is my life? For like about 6 months. So from like May to about sort of October. Excuse me. And then I came back to Sydney and I had my surgery and I was really exhausted. And that was like around the time that I probably started writing my memoirs. So the original plan for my book was actually I had just planned to just write my memoirs. I was like, I can't even remember what I had for breakfast yesterday. I'm going to write down the first 30 years of my life. And the way that I approached it was I just bought a ton of pretty notebooks from Kiki K. Love Kiki K. It's a stationery brand. I don't know if you have it in New Zealand. It's a
I'm
stationery
pretty sure we
brand
do. I think we do. Yeah.
in Australia. And so I bought all these blank notebooks, just line notebooks. And at the start of the first notebook, I just like wrote like a list with check boxes of like all the different like experiences or stories or like really memorable moments or things like that from my life. And then what would happen was each morning or whatever mornings I felt like doing it, I would sit in bed and I would open up the book and I would look at the list and I would go, yep, I feel like writing that story today. And so I just started writing the story and I thought, oh, maybe I'll publish these memoirs kind of thing. I hadn't planned to be a book. But pardon me, I had found this book by a business friend of mine had recommended this book called Published by Chandler Bolt. And it helped to kind of like help me understand what maybe the book could be about. And I found that I was writing a lot of my career stories first. So I wrote like a mix of different stories, but I wrote a lot of my career stories first. And I thought to myself, I'm like, maybe I could write like a book on career change because that's been a big theme of my life. And now I had the time to reflect back, and it was like age, like by the time I had hit age 35, I'd had 5 career changes. And the interesting thing was the moment that I decided that I was going to actually turn it into a book, I started auditing myself. I started editing myself and editing my voice because I was like, well, I've got to write it the way that
Yeah.
somebody's like, that I want my audience to read it. And I remember being in this business group and somebody was like, no, just write your book for you. Like, just write it the way that, like, draft it the way that you want it, um, not for anybody else. It was the best advice because what it meant was it was a really cathartic experience
Yeah.
and it was really soul fulfilling. And I would actually recommend that everybody writes their own memoirs. And I plan to do it 30, 60, 90 if I'm lucky enough to live that long. Because like not just from the oh it's great to have a record of your life, but from the actual the reflection that you're able to do, like even stuff that I had worked on and already worked on, you know, with NLP practitioners and with coaches and stuff like that. Now, 5 years later, I was reflecting on it completely differently, really differently. And so I wrote, you know, all the stories and I started to really feel the energy of my book coming. And I thought, I'm going to stop writing all the stories and I'm going to focus on the stories that I want to put into the book. And
Amazing.
so I started by just writing all the career stories, and then I added all of the, you know, I had so many tips and checklists and tools and activities and things like that that I built up over the course of my business, my coaching business, that I kind of peppered those in. So my book actually reads more like a memoir than it does like a traditional like career book, but it's got all of those practical like tools and tips and stuff in it. Um, but I think it was what I needed at the time. Like I was so burnt out after my partner had you know, his transplant and his recovery, and yeah, it really helped me to just get back into myself and like spend some time like reintroducing myself to myself. I think. So I would recommend that everybody does it. Everybody writes their memoirs, even if you never plan to publish it. Write them for you. Um, you know, lock them up, put them away. The process of writing itself is the where the magic happens, I think.
And it's so interesting because, you know, we are so glued to our devices, our typing, that the writing bit is taking that, even if we type it out, it's just the process of giving us time and space. And you know what's so cool there is, and I'm saying cool again because earlier on you said that in those pivotal moments in your life, somebody said something that just validated or helped you or gave you the permission or um to go, hey, you can do this here. So, you know, for you, for example, when that business person said, hey, just write for yourself. Just forget about the audience, just write for yourself. It's really, really beautiful. And the synergy, you know, as you said before, we both believe in MG and things happen at the right time for the right reason, and the right people will come in at that time there. And it's really, really beautiful how that's happened for you. And again, it's also interesting. It's not just the come, it's the awareness piece. So I think about this, like people come into our lives all the time, but are we aware that they've actually come in? Or we just go, okay, whatever, and then we just move on. And then you pray to God, or whatever you do, whatever your thing is, and you go, oh, why is no one helping me? But actually, the people have come, but you've just chosen not to be aware in that moment in time. So, you know, I love the way you were aware in those moments and times. And you know, sometimes it happens, sometimes it happens, but it's just really, really cool. And if someone wants to get a copy of your book, how can they get a copy of your book? Because why not?
Yeah,
You're on a podcast. Let's talk about that.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's on Amazon. You can get it in print and ebook. And it's on all major audiobook platforms, so Audible and Spotify. I read it myself. So I published it in November 2024, and then I recorded the audiobook in December 2024. And then I released the audiobook, I think, the following April. So
Amazing.
the audiobook is really, yeah, you can have me in your ear for 6 hours.
Yeah, who needs a podcast? Let's go with the right book. And what we'll do is we'll get the links from you. We'll check it in the show notes as well, so people can access that, which is really, really, really cool. Look, we've been talking for over an hour now. It's just
Oh
flown by
goodness.
so, so fast. And this is why I love these podcasts here. But I'm also mindful of your time and your space. And before we close up, is there anything you'd like to share before I ask you my final question that you think would be interesting, fun, whatever you think that our audience might like to hear from
Yeah,
you?
I mean, you can absolutely come check out my website, and come follow me on LinkedIn. Yeah, I mean, I post a lot of different things, but the interesting thing I think is like at the moment I'm transitioning again, so I'm moving into what I'm calling my soft girl era. And I made the decision at the start of the year because my partner had another liver transplant in November and he was in hospital for 4.5 months. Um, it's really funny, actually. I feel like I need that writing again. And so I am about to start like a Substack, pardon me, focusing on soft girl era. But I'm like transforming everything, like all my interior decorations, all my clothing, like my towels have just gone from sage green to pink. Like, yeah, again, I feel it so strongly. And so I'm sort of moving into that space. That's what I feel like I need at the moment. Um, yeah, it's just interesting, like these phases that we go through, I think, and it's like honoring those and being open to those and
Yeah.
seeing where the energy takes you.
And what I love again about that is, we all think about these things, but we don't even think about it. We will worry about what the world is gonna think or whatever, right? Whatever. But I love how you just, hey, this is my phase, this is my season, it's all about me. And I always tell people, one of my clients and people, it's like people are always gonna have an opinion, no matter what. They always, whatever you do, let them have the opinion. You just live your life because you're gonna live your best life. So I love the way you've shared that there soft girl era. I look forward to seeing what that looks like. Uh, it, and to round off our podcast is called Baskets of Knowledge, and you've shared tons of knowledge today. But we always invite our guests to share one piece of knowledge for our listeners, to put into our basket or their basket. So, my invitation for you is there one piece of knowledge in your little vast experience of different phases of your life that you'd like to share with our listeners and myself, I guess?
Or I actually wonder whether or not maybe it's been shared on your podcast before because it's actually an NLP tool um, that works both in, so I use it in change management, but it also works really well in your personal life as well for whatever it is that you're using, doing, tackling. And it's a tool called chunking up. And the basic premise of the idea of this NLP tool is that the more highly you chunk or the higher level you go, then the more agreement and alignment that you get. And then the deeper in the detail or the lower chunk you go, then the more sort of diversity, difference of opinion, disagreement you get. So I use it in neurolinguistic programming. I use it in my change management to help get projects aligned, help understand what the business benefits are going to be. Like I use it in different ways. But excuse me, in your personal life, it's really, really powerful. If ever you are feeling like you're coming at a crossroads, or if ever you're like wanting to build that confidence in yourself, it's like finding what is your highest intention, finding what is your highest purpose. And all you need to do is ask yourself, what's the purpose of that? So, whatever is the challenge that you're experiencing, whatever is the problem that you have, or maybe it's an area of your life, like what's the purpose of career? And you just ask yourself, what's the purpose of that? What's the purpose of that? For what purpose is that? What's the highest intention of that? And that's specifically the question, what is what's the purpose of that? What's the highest intention of that? And with each answer, then you just ask the question. So it might be like, what's the highest intention of career? It might be money. What's the highest intention of money? It could be purpose. For what purpose is purpose? To make a difference. And you just keep going until you get to the highest chunk where you almost will feel it in your body, where you might get to something like happiness or freedom or love or connection or community or whatever it is for you. Like everybody is different. When you can tap into that one thing, like it just transforms everything because then you can start living your life from that place. You can start going, great. If my highest purpose in life or my highest in purpose in this particular area of my life or whatever it is happiness, you can just ask yourself the question, okay, I'm faced with a decision. Will this make me happy? Yes or no? And it becomes this almost like this North Pole and this guiding star for you. And I just think it's such a great tool that anybody can use and learn. Super easy to obviously have a practitioner do it with you, but also really easy to do it on your own. And I use it all the time in all these different ways and methods. But yeah, that would be such a diverse, powerful tool to add to the basket.
What a powerful tool. And I was smiling as you were saying this, because in my last team, I would always ask, what's the purpose at every single meeting? And I got shut down. Every time I went to a meeting, like, oh, here comes what's the purpose guy. And I was like, yeah, because I want to know what's going on for that very reason. The cool thing is that this, as you said, can be applied to anybody. It's very easy to do, but you've also got to be really honest with yourself as well. And that's where the beauty is. But what a great tool, what a great takeaway. And I'm pretty sure that if people listen to this podcast, I'm inviting them to give it a crack. There's nothing bad that can come in, nothing bad. It's only the goodness out of that there. Beautiful. What a great share from what's the purpose guy. Change my podcast right to what's the purpose. Beautiful, amazing. Lata, thank you so much for jumping on. I think we could keep talking for hours and hours. Your energy is amazing, your story is amazing, but also the fact that you've lived a real life that has got its ups and downs, its troughs. As you said, right now you're going through the diagnosis of endo. You are living your best life. You've got a partner that's going through the ups and downs. But through it all, you're going, right, cool, this is the life we live, and how do I make my life, the best person that I want to be? And I love that. I love the way you've taken the power of things that you can control. Any last words from you before we close off?
No, just thank you so much for having me. It was a great chat, and it was really beautiful to get the opportunity to share. So thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. For listeners out there, hopefully you enjoyed this podcast. Hopefully you've learned something, but also hopefully you've learned that confidence comes and goes. If you're a female, listen to your body, be aware of your body, and don't be afraid to tell somebody about that as well, that I'm going through whatever phase I am in my cycle. But also, don't forget to find a reason to smile. Don't forget to find something to put into your basket of knowledge. And as Lata said, don't forget to ask yourself, what is the purpose and what is the highest intention? Until next time, ka kite, stay awesome. Bye, buddy. Peace.
Thank you for listening to Baskets of Knowledge.
Yeah, we hope that you found something useful to put into your basket of knowledge. And as we said before, remember to put something little into your baskets of knowledge every week. And as always, feel free to like, comment, and share this podcast. Thanks, everybody. Bye.